There's 5 main reasons why I'm so confident on Scarlet and Violet, and today I'm going to be mentioning all 5 reasons. I think it's just going to do absolutely phenomenal, so I don't want to waste time, and we've got a lot of information to break through. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so first of all, it is really fun to open. Now, it is no new concept that the more packs are opened, then the sealed boxes just become more valuable. That is not a new concept. We see sets like Evolving Skies, really expensive, ripped into the oblivion. So you want to target sets that are fun to open as a good experience. What is a good experience? An expensive chase because you get the thrill, but also you want them to actually feel like they're getting something. Guys, if we look at other like chance-based things such as like casinos, I can't really think of anything else. Notice how they always give the players a little bit back, right? They'll never just leave them empty-handed. No. If someone puts $100 into a slot machine, they'll get like $20 back, right? So it's the same thing with this. You want the sets to be fun to open and you want them to get a little bit back. So you look at something like Silver Tempest or Lost Origin or like some boom or bust sets, we either pull the top chase or you're losing thousands. You look at those and you go, all right, not that fun to open up. That's the problem. They're not enjoyable. You look at Burning Shadows, it's not fun to open up. You want to open up sets like Cosmic Eclipse, Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, where even if you don't pull the top chase, at least there's something to pull. Now, Scarlet and Violet has done this, but just cranked it to the max. Because what Scarlet and Violet has done is it has introduced illustration risk, meaning alt arts are way more common to pull. There's way more of them, but there's 2 rarities for every single set. You see, with Sword and Shield, there were only a select amount of sets that had VMAX alt arts and V alt arts, but every single alt art set at least had V alt arts. So you have Silver Tempest. Silver Tempest is awful to open up. Lost Origin is awful to open up. You are so unlikely to pull an alt art. It's like 1 in multiple hundred packs. For Lugia, I think it's like 1 in 700 or 1 in 800 to pull the Lugia. There's only 4 alt arts. So it's like 1 in 200. That's like 1 in 5 booster boxes you pull an alt art. That's boring. That's not fun. That's not enjoyable. So you look at Scarlet and Violet, and because they're constantly getting hits, it makes it more enjoyable. More enjoyable equals more people opening it. More people opening it equals smaller sealed supply. Alright, number 2 is higher set value. So there is a correlation between booster boxes being expensive and high set values. You see, once again, as I was saying before, you need multiple top chases. And Scarlet and Violet, what they do is, I was talking about before about illustration risk, but something that Scarlet and Violet does really well is a lot of sets just have multiple top chases. Destined Rivals, 151, Prismatic Evolutions, Paldea Evolve, Twilight Masquerade, all of these sets have multi-$100 cards. It is worth opening up versus something like Silver Tempest where it's boom or bust, and that's not enjoyable. So having a set like Surging Sparks where it has multiple top chases and a high set value, it makes for, first of all, master setting it more actually enjoyable. Master setting Sword and Shield sets is just boring as you got like 4 or 5 alt arts and then you got all these V's, gold cards, VMAXs, rainbows. It's just a whole bunch of slop, right? With Scarlet and Violet, there's actual work of art. The set value is high, and the set value has a correlation to the booster box going up in price, and this is really healthy for it. And a big reason why Scarlet and Violet has just a ridiculous set value, like if you're not aware, Black Bolt's set value is almost 3 times as high as Lost Origin's set value. It kind of just makes you think for a second, like, holy crap, that's a lot. So it's the next day. Unfortunately, my microphone died, so I just yapped on for 15 minutes, practically to just myself. So yeah, as I was saying, the set value is incredibly important. Completely lost my train of thought, so we're just going to move on to the next one, which the next one is that this era has 3 nostalgia sets and 1 really solid shiny set. Why are these such big deals? Well, the reason why they're such big deals is the more good sets you have in an era, the more iconic and praised it is. Great example is, say, X and Y, right? No one's really saying X and Y is a bad set, however, doesn't really have a lot of good sets. It has a couple, but not that many. So an era on how it's regarded and how memorable it is, a lot of time is spread out between all the other sets. Look at Black and White. Black and White, no one really talks about. It's just a dead era. X and Y was realistically a dead era until they made the the new megas, realistically X and Y was just a dead era. I'm not saying those are bad eras, but notice how Sun and Moon still held up to this day because there's a decent amount of sets inside that just pull their weight, whether it's the Rainbow Charizard or tag team sets or an amazing shiny set, it pulls its weight. Then we get to Scarlet and Violet. So you have three really solid nostalgia sets. You have number 1, which is 151, number 2, which is Destiny Royals, and number 3, which is Black Bolt and White Flare. These are all nostalgia sets. Whether the people who are nostalgic for it are 35, 30, or 25, or maybe even 20, they're still nostalgic for these sets. And that's really good. So what this does is this allows all the sets to realistically pull their weight. It's not like it has 1 or 2 good sets. No, it has many good sets. And these nostalgia sets will be visited on and on 10 years in the future. People are going to be going back to those nostalgia sets. Specifically 151 and Destiny Royals will be revisited a lot because it'll be almost like modern base set, and then it'll be like the modern Team Rocket. I would not be surprised if 151 and Destiny Royals go down as these sets that people actively come back to, similar to how people actively look back at the 20th anniversary or the 25th or soon to be 30th. People go back to those sets whenever there's some occasion, whenever there's some celebration and a new anniversary, right? So I feel like the same is going to happen with Destiny Rivals and 151. They're going to be the modern base set where people are going to look back at it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do another 151 remake in like say 10 years time. I would not be surprised if that then pumps up the current 151. Like, I could see Pokemon doing this as like a big thing where every era has a couple sets just dedicated to a specific generation, like Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4. I would not be surprised if they do that. If they do that, then it's going to become like a whole lineup, also almost like the series lineup where you had like the Gold Star Umbreon and you had that whole series, or you had like the EX era or the E-Reader era, all these different eras. I would not be surprised if people have like an era where you've got every single like generation dedicated set. So I feel like it's going to age really well, and these are the start. Like, we're only going to know that it's going to do really well in the future once it's realistically too late. Once these really take off, that's when you'll know you made a good decision. Alright, number 4 is it's difficult to grade. A lot of people credit old booster packs being incredibly expensive because no one was investing in it, no one was hoarding it. However, I agree with that, but I also reckon a lot has to do with the fact that you can pull a $20,000 PSA 10 card inside. Think about it. Plasma Storm booster packs are like, what, 150? Dude, 150, you could pull a Charizard that's worth like 11k as a PSA 10. So what I think is going to happen is, because these are so difficult to grade, what I think is going to happen is in the future, it's going to be this thing where it's like, oh, Paldea Evolved, that has a $3,000 card as a PSA 10 or a $2,000 card, whatever the price is, as a PSA 10. It has all these other illustrations that are extraordinarily expensive as PSA 10s. What I feel like is going to happen is in the future, we're going to be seeing Sun and Moon, X and Y, Black and White, those extremely low pops. And it's really going to help rise the price of these. Because got to think like Gengar VMAX. Think about it. If Gengar VMAX was incredibly hard to grade, and then it was like $5,000 as a PSA 10, how expensive do you think Fusion Strike would be? Say it's right now about $1,200. Would you say it'd be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000? I'd probably say it's about the $2,000 mark. I would be willing to bet that Fusion Strike would be $2,000 if the grading quality was as bad as Paldea Evolved. So now you got to ask yourself, is Paldea Evolved as good as Fusion Strike? Man, my answer is no, but it's close. It's I don't look, honestly, for me, I don't like Paldea Evolved, so it's very hard for me to give it an answer. I just don't really like it. I have 9 boxes of it. My logic is pretty boring set. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's much substance. It doesn't feel like there's much of a theme. All the artworks just look like a blur. But it does have a Shinji artwork, does have a Magikarp, does have a Raichu, so it does have some heat inside. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's boring. Like, compared to Destiny Rivals or 151, I don't know. But the grading really ramps it up. And this goes for all holiday sets, man. You look at the gem rate on the Umbreon SIR from Prismatic Evolutions, you know that Umbreon is so expensive as a PSA 10. If you want to find a card that is that price or more expensive, you have to go all the way back to Sun and Moon Team Up. That is ridiculous. That is going back by about 6 and a bit years. literally just to find a card that's the same price. And you want to know something that's absolutely hilarious that you're just going to laugh? The fact there's only a couple cards in Sun and Moon. Realistically, you got the Burning Shadows Charizard. I don't even know if the Gengar and Mimikyu as a PSA 10 is as expensive. It may be the same, if not a little bit less or a little bit more. And then you got the Lattice, which is like way out the water. But the thing is, you have to go so far back to find a card that is that price. It's not surprising that Prismatic is doing so well. Alrighty, number 1. Now, I was talking earlier about how you've got master setting is more fun. You look at Sword and Shield, and Sword and Shield master sets is just pure slop. It's just rainbows and VMAXs and golds, and it's just boring. But you look at Scarlet and Violet master sets, and they're really nice. Now, here's the thing. I think this is going to age really, really well. I think master setting Deaths and Rivals, master setting 151, those are going to go down as like an essential for collectors. Like, you know how it's like an essential that you have like an alt art as a PSA 10, or like, I don't know, it's a lot of time it's an essential to have like a VMAX alt art, like an Umbreon VMAX alt art, or there's some like essentials, right? Like, you've got to have a Sword and Shield booster box in your collection. Like, that's, you know, it's an essential, right? Or 151. A lot of people see 151 as like, you've got to have a 151 Elite Trainer box in your collection. So you have these like essentials, right? I feel like an essential in the future is going to be master setting Scarlet and Violet. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people don't master set in Sword and Shield. You know why? Because it's not really worth it. But think about how unhealthy it is for the market when it comes to master setting. You know, it's not really that surprising why the Skunk Tank from Silver Tempest hasn't moved up, or any of those low alt arts. It's because no one is master setting it, because it's just boring to master set. It's pointless to master set. Why master set Silver Tempest or Lost Origin? There's not really much of a point. It's just boring. But you look at Scarlet and Violet, and it's so beautiful to master. So you've got all these amazing cards you can flick by. And you know what? That is going to age really well. You want to know why? Because that means that there's going to be a lot of buying pressure on cheaper cards, which is going to drive up the price of them. Meaning people feel more inclined to open it up because they look at it and go, you know what? I can pull a, say, $1,000 Gengar, or it's not $1,000. It's like, yeah, it's not even close. It's like $500 Gengar, $300 Espeon, $150 Mew, or I can pull a $1 card. The thing about, like, say, Paldear Evolved, right? You've got, like, 400, 100, 90, 70, 50, 40, 30, 20, 20, 15, 15, 15, 15, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Like, you've got constant heat to pull. And I feel like this is going to age really, really well. Also, I just want to quickly mention something. Illustration rares are way more common than gold cards, yet they're way more expensive. You look at gold cards in, like the gold Giratina from Lost Origin, it's worth like, what, 10, 15 bucks? Okay, to pull that, it's like thousands of packs. To pull a specific gold hyper rare is like the rarest card to pull in the set. However, you look at illustration rares, and for every gold card, there's like 5 illustration rares, yet the illustration rares are like double or triple the price. You look at Magikarp, the Magikarp is 1 in 500 packs to pull. Bro, that Magikarp being that price makes like no economical sense for the history of Pokemon. It should not be that common, but then that easy to pull. But you know what it is? It's such a good artwork that people love it. 151 Charizard. 1 in 220 packs to pull the Charizard. One of the easiest cards to pull in practically all of modern Pokemon. Yet the card is, what, $1,300 as a PSA 10? It's, what, $250, $300 as raw? Yeah, there's a reason why. It's because people like the artworks. They're actually enjoyable. It brings back the gotta catch 'em all. It brings back what Pokemon is realistically about. Master setting and collecting all of them. And that drives up buying pressure, which then drives up the set value, which then drives up people to open it up, which then drives up the then it dries up the supply, which then drives up the price, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching.